No spacebar, what if you do?
So this next project is Jumpstart International. This is a map server and documenting the entire process. A good segue was from the OpenStreetMap because this project runs on OpenStreetMap. So it's just basically an open source Google map that anyone can go in and edit. It's not just GPS based. I can show you a demo of you can just be editing your map right from your computer. As long as you have knowledge of where the roads go, you can edit it. So this is the diagram of what the map server actually does. It started out when I was just working on the back end with all the server stuff. That expanded into documenting the actual front end. So you had the open layers and also all the editing software as well as back end. Recently, I just got the Potlatch editor opening. So now you can edit the map right within the browser. You don't need to download JOSM, and that all runs the same authentication system that the website does. So, how do we go?
Oh,
yeah.
It should just click, shouldn't it?
Might have to hit escape and see where
Online.
No, it's not program. It's one.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
It only like hyperlink half it or something.
No bother putting that button there. Command Shift F.
I think it's coming up right now.
Yeah, well, Command Shift F will get you full screen.
Okay.
Hey, you're really running out of power there.
No, it needs 40 minutes of reading.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the front piece that opens up when you see it. This is called the Rails port. This is basically the front end. I had all this customized, but then I ran the backup script, which caused a lot of problems. I'll get into a little bit more on that later. But right now you can just drag the map around, and there's actually a lot of data over China because of certain limitations. So then there's also the sign up feature, which if this loads. Here we go. You can print your email, it'll sign you up. You need to authenticate that email, just the regular click to confirm this is actually you who's subscribed, and that all works fine. We had issues with that originally because it was defaulting to the OpenStreetMap servers. So you had to cut and paste the user URL onto the regular URL, which is port 3000 of my server. So I'm just going to log in quick. Now that you're logged in, you have this inbox here so other people can message you basically asking like, oh, how did you do those edits, why did you do that, etc. Private message system, as well as you can see like your recent history and user batteries. And the edit and history are useful when you zoom in further. Let's go. So this opens up the editing interface. There's actually a few different ways to do this. If you click and hold, it comes up with two versions of Potlatch and also the link to JOSM. So this is Potlatch right here. You can either edit it and then save it after you're done, or you can actually edit the map live. And I'm just going to do this just because it's on my server. So zoom out a little bit. So there you can see like this road, and then all you have to do is just click, put on the waypoints to do that segment. And then go down here, say it's a primary road, secondary, residential service, and just give it a name like and that should be updated to the database. And if you go click on history, for some reason that didn't save. It's kind of glitchy with the live one. It's a lot easier to do it with the where you save it when you're done with it. It's a lot more reliable that way. But yeah. So that's basically how the editor works. And so Peter, don't kill me. You know, a lot of the email messages are customized, front end customizable. that is more like proof of concept. I didn't go through the whole process of redoing like the entire thing, giving it a logo and everything. It was just more Jumpstart wanted to know how can we do this with our own logo and stuff. User authentication, you saw that, login to edit stuff, the online editor, and then the backend script. Well, this is kind of a problem because the backend script, I can dump it, I can dump the databases, dump the Planet OSM, which is actually the map data, except restoring it over large amounts of time when you do this repeatedly, it loses some of the data, so you can't zoom in all the way, and there's artifacts within some of the maps. I'm working to fix that. The reason why I decided to do it this way was because I ran it once, looked fine, but then I was like, you know, if we run this multiple times, will there be any problems? And it turns out it worked. So the other thing I'm working on is automated installation. There's no just simple program you can just download for the server. You need to start from scratch. You need to install these prerequisites, then go through and customize each little program just to fit your specifications. I'm trying to do something where you can just enter all your information once. It'll go through and edit all the files for you. I'm not sure how realistic that is, just given the amount of data that you need. And then lastly, just minor tweaks, optimizations. I just saw that was running pretty slow. But then again, that's also the server limitations of hardware too. So back to script. And then the Rails port, which you might have seen that I had to go to port 3000 for that. That's because the Rails port doesn't run on Apache. It runs on its own web server. And I can't really move that to port 80 because of the campus firewall. I only get one IP address, and all the solutions I found need multiple IPs. So, this time I'd like to open up the questions.
So I'm not really familiar with it, but I've seen things like this before, right? Like, but isn't this what OpenStreetMap does? And
It is. There's just no documentation where you go from here's your basic Linux install to full map server with all the other stuff in it. And pieces like Modtile had no documentation at all, so it was more just like you plug this into Apache and it's supposed to work. So no one really knew what to do. So part of the project here was to go through document the actual process of doing all this.
so I guess I don't understand why you would want to run more than one map server. Then you just have like competing and more sparse information, right? Don't you want just one giant database that everybody contributes?
Yeah, ideally, but there's also specific instances where Jumpstart is looking at just at Georgia, like the country, and just going off that and putting hotels, studying economic data. So it's really that subset where they have specific needs for that map that most maps won't have on there for them. Does that help answer your question a little bit?
Yeah, kind of. I don't see why you shouldn't just subsample a giant database of the whole world to look at Georgia instead of making a whole different map server for Georgia. You put stuff there, and then it's like you have this merge problem.
That does exist, although it also turns into who owns the map data, because a lot of times when you get to Google, you don't own that map data anymore. You can't really do a lot with it. So at least this way, if they have their own map data, they can sell it to companies to analyze and such. So it's also like legal licensing and stuff.
So it is essentially for those countries where Google Maps do not provide maps and so on. So this is more for humanity and business. So to those of you who have not been following, Google Maps is now crowdsourcing. We can edit the map and so on. So those of you, it was put in the blog of Google blogs. But Google Maps are all proprietary.
I thought Google was open.
As open as Apple. Okay.